if you can.
Ooh, I love that.
Oh,
Thank you
tech
so much.
support.
So, so Abigail, I am terrible at tech support. I am really a live theater girl and a live stand-up girl. Um, and my internet is pretty crappy. And my husband tried so hard to make sure it was going to be good for this today. Um, but after many battles with AT&T, I thought it was best for his health and for my health to just call a ceasefire. So if I freeze at any moment, I have something for you to do. It's kind of like coffee talk, talks amongst yourself. No, what I want you to do is think of any time or the last time you really, truly laughed. What made you truly, truly laugh? I'm not talking like a little giggle. I like those too. But I mean, like belly laugh, you felt it in your abs. I want y'all to think about that, and we may have some share time at the end. Okay. So that's what you do if I freeze. Have I already frozen, Abigail?
No, but
Oh, thank
can
God.
I read your bio about you?
Huh?
Can I read your bio?
Oh, yes, you may. Please.
And do a
Absolutely.
fancy introduction?
Oh, I love it. Yes.
All right, here we are. All right, Andrea's day job is teaching theater arts, speech, and communications to high schoolers. To be honest, it is also her night and weekend gig, thanks to her degrees and certifications in theater and education. She feels the best education and learning has come from being in the classroom and listening to her students, especially when they think she isn't listening. Between directing productions and speech and debate tournaments, she does a little stand up comedy, improv, and watching reels while soaking in the tub.
My fave.
Travel would be a hobby, but she seems to always end up at Disney World because her daughter can get her in for free. Oh, pro tip. She lives with her husband, AKA Budget Boy, and their two cats that keep their 30 years of marriage interesting. I will put your Facebook page in the chat in a little while, but otherwise, please welcome to the stage, Angela, oh, Andrea Ottolino. Okay, there you go.
Thank you for the round of applause. I got that. That makes me laugh. Takes me back to my kindergarten days with my little kids. I am so honored to be asked to do this. This is not my favorite form of media and presenting. I learned that during the COVID era of teaching high schoolers. Rough, my friends. But as long as I don't see you in the bad, that's great. That's already a head start from the old days. So I am here to talk about, the funny thing is that you can laugh about it. When I heard I was coming up after Dr. Harris, which, great information. In fact, I heard a speech about it from a freshman this past weekend at a speech and debate tournament on this very subject. And it was so powerful hearing it from her. And then to hear you echoing those words that this young girl is already getting that out to our students in Alabama. And so that's wonderful. So, yay, Dr. Harris. But I am coming in after a pretty serious topic. Um, but I love dark humor too. And dark humor is really learning to laugh even when things are not funny. So I'm going to start a story so you know a little bit more about me and why I do this. Um, from a very horrible night of my life, probably one of the worst. And it was the night my mother passed away. I was very close to my mom, and she was just this amazing therapist and just educated, caring, empathetic woman. And so I was not the only one. We were sitting vigil. We had just a week to prepare for this. It was very sudden. And she was not able to communicate for that week. So it was just us sitting with her and holding her hand. And she was one of 8 children. And she was the first to pass away. So they were all there with her also. So we had a room full of people. And it was hard. But at one point, what was the hardest, I recognized at the end, one of the hardest things was my uncle, who is a minister, and the family jokes about how long-winded he is. He's a fabulous preacher, but he's long-winded. And he's a fabulous prayer giver, but he's long-winded. We just really want to eat Thanksgiving supper. So this is a joke of our family, and you need to know that. Um, but my mother had called him the week before and had wanted to have lunch with him, and he was unable to do it and kind of pushed her off. And so when this suddenly happened and she was not able to communicate, he was devastated because he missed the opportunity. And so he was struggling, I think, almost harder than I was, because I had had that lovely conversation with her just the few days before. And so I was at peace, not happy, but I was not feeling the regret that he was feeling. And so he stayed by her side a lot more on that last day. And at one point, my brother and I had walked out to talk and just take a break for a minute. And he was sitting by her bed and he was praying and going over scripture with her. And then he just said he started praying. Well, she passed away as he was doing that. And we weren't in the room. So he came out and I could see it on his face. And he was devastated, not only that she's now passed away, but he felt like he had taken that from me, because he said he knew she was about to pass. He could feel it, but all he did was hold her hand and keep praying. And I could see how horrible he felt and how he almost was never going to let that go either. And I looked around at the sadness of everyone in the room, and I, being an Enneagram 7, cracked a joke. And I said to him, I said, Uncle Charles, it's okay. Mom had to go ahead and pass away because it was the only way you were ever going to shut up. And the whole room just laughed because they love me and know me. And it was the tension relief and the outpouring of laughter with the tears that made us be able to breathe, come around, sing her favorite song, and celebrate her in a way she would have wanted. I told a joke 5 minutes after my mother passed away. I thought about it later and I thought, oh, why did I do that? But knowing it really was the right thing to do at that moment. And now when I think of that night and the passing of my mother, which could just be so heavy on my heart for the rest of my life. I think about laughing with my family and celebrating who she was and giving relief to someone who needed it at that moment. I was so supported by so many friends and family, and he was keeping his grief so inside that he needed to be relieved of that. And so I'm talking about sometimes dark humor, that we have to learn to be able to laugh about it. And if you let me get through a little bit of that, I will tell some of my favorite stories that are all just funny, not about my mother's passing. But dark humor is important. In fact, this weekend, as I was listening to all of my kids do their stories and I was having to judge a speech contest, a freshman boy got up and it was a humorous speech that he was having to give. And he started out talking about this horrible medical crisis that he had just been through and where he almost died. And yet, this freshman boy was able to take that experience in his life and turn it into humor. Where I know, talking to his coach, I know he still struggles with a lot of issues because of it. But he took this and he turned it into this humorous piece where he can talk about it and he could talk about it and let everybody know that yes, this can happen, but we can get through it and we can find a way to laugh. What a powerful statement from just a 15-year-old boy. Um, so that's just kind of sealed the coffin of why I talk about this and why it's important to talk about this. Um, Now, a little irreverent warning, I am irreverent about certain things because I am a preacher's daughter. I had to find some way to rebel, and humor was my irreverent humor was my way to do that. So what we are going to do is, you can call it dark humor, you can kind of call it coping with joy. I love coping with joy. Um, and that is just something that kind of popped into my head actually this morning when I was finishing writing what I was going to say today. So we are going to be doing some humor, and we're going to be learning how to cope with joy. All right. And this is just another tool for your toolbox when you get stressed and anxious. All the other tools are so amazing: writing, breathing, exercising. Although I'm not a really good exerciser, but exercising, all of that are wonderful tools to have. This is such a special tool that I like to call it a magic wand of pixie dust. All right. That's my magic wand of pixie dust that we are going to learn how to use. And you don't have to be an Enneagram 7 with enthusiasm that just intuitively tells jokes when they're stressed. Um, you can learn it because I use other tools that are not intuitive to me. I've had to learn to make lists to cope with all of the disorganized thoughts that go around in this brain of mine. I've learned how to write things or type things down in my app on my phone, my notes app, so I don't forget it. And I can remember, because I won't remember it 10 minutes later. I could think of the best story or joke, and 10 minutes later, I'll be like, what was I thinking about? And it will be gone. But if I write it down, even if it's at 2 in the morning when I wake up thinking about it, I pull my phone over, I type it in, and I remember it, because those are my tools that I've had to learn to use. They're not intuitive to me. I would rather just keep on going about my day, but I've learned to use those. And so I want you to learn to use some of this tool, even if you're not funny. And it's easy. I promise you, it can be easy to do. You just have to kind of retrain your brain, and you can do that. Neuroplasticity, and I never say it right. Sorry, it's my Southern. Um, it's just that your brain is moldable, kind of like Play Doh. And so if you find something you don't like that keeps popping up in your brain, smush it out and remold it into what you do want to use. You can remold your brain. You can rewire your brain. It's true. There's real studies from people who are much smarter than I am. They are out there. You can remold your brain to think of things differently. And I didn't know I was doing that. When negative thoughts would come into me, I would go, no, 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 go away. And I would think of something else. I was already doing that, but I was intuitively doing it. Some people need to really do it with intention. And so I'm going to start out first with one thing my precious mama, who was a just amazing therapist, would always say if I started to spiral, because teenagers spiral a lot, I'm angsty. She would say, stop awfulizing. Stop awfulizing. We awfulize about the future of the country, about medical diagnosis. Lately, I've been awfulizing about the removal of red dye from our foods because I love red velvet cake. Does that mean I can't have it anymore? I don't know, but I'm not going to awfulize about it. When I start to awfulize, okay, I am going to go in there and reshape my brain and use my magic wand of ideas and pixie dust to help me. One thing I do when I do start to kind of go down a rabbit hole um, is watch like late night comedians. I love comedians, especially after the news when Steven and Seth come on And I am on a first name basis with Stephen and Seth because I spend a lot of time in my pajamas without a bra on. And so I figured I can call them by their first names. But they have amazing political humor. And their political humor helps me deal with the worry I have about what is going on or what might happen in the future. Because I do worry, and I have a lot of friends who worry about that. And so when I listen to them, I think, oh, okay, yes, I can laugh. Yes, that was a horrible thing to say, but let's find the funny. And they do. They really know how to find the funny. When I do stand up, I have never touched on political humor. I've really just usually done myself because I think I'm just hilarious. And but having listening to my friends as of late, I started toying around with some thoughts the way maybe the late night comedians would do, because there again, I'm trying to find a way to find the humor in the worry. And so I thought, what did I do 4 years ago? And I remembered I watched West Wing. So I would just watch West Wing because I loved Jeff Bartlett. He was this kind, smart, empathetic man who I wanted to be daddy of our country. And so sometimes I just pretend he is for an hour of the episode. I mean, I really get so forlorn. Sometimes I think fondly of Reagan as like the grandfather who just gives you jelly beans. And at least he tore down walls instead of wanting to build them up, right? And as we go through, and I hate to say this, and this is why I usually don't do political humor, but it's just, I've got to. And I hope you understand my feelings. But Trump makes me think of the creepy uncle you don't want to stand next to in the family photo. And you want to make sure you always know where his hands are, right? There's a little secret I'll tell you in my house with Budget Boy. Um, when somebody is touched inappropriately in inappropriate places without the appropriate permission, we call that trumping because obviously, but it's our only way to laugh at the fact that people think that's okay. It's not, but people do. Um, in fact, I my biggest concern right now, and I have to laugh about it, is with all the suspicion of sexual misconduct of Trump and several of his appointees. I mean, at what point is our White House and Capitol building going to be on the sexual offenders registry? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, are school trips going to be allowed to go because they have to be within certain feet of that? I don't know. These are the things that do wake me up at night, and I type them in my notes and I reframe it into a joke and I can go to sleep. Magic wand of pixie dust. Really, magic wand of pixie dust. But also, when we learn to laugh, we burn calories. Bonus. Not only does it help us with our mental, it can help a little bit with our physical too. Notice how people's faces light up when they laugh or when you smile at them, and let them know it's okay to laugh. It's good. We exercise that way. In fact, you can even burn calories just by smiling. All right. So just by smiling for 15 seconds, and that's all you've got to do, 15 seconds. All right. You are going to burn calories. Now, you might not feel like smiling. You might not. But I want you to just try with me. You can do any kind of smile you want. You can do a little coy smile, a little wink, a little giggle. Just try it, because the more you do it, the funnier it gets. Um, I do this exercise with high school football player boys. It's the funniest thing because the way they finally get into giggling at each other, it's really just for my enjoyment. I tell them it's for theirs. They're good, but I just do it for me, right? Because we have to have fun as teachers. But it really truly does lighten a mood. It helps them relieve some stress because they're dealing with stress too. High school, whew, it's not for the weak, and I don't know if I would make it anymore these days. I promise you, especially math. Oh, but so when you feel that, you can just sometimes smile. You don't have to be smiling at anything. Just try it, especially when you're walking down the street, smile at somebody. And it's amazing when you get that smile back, what it does for your soul, and you don't even know what it's going to do for their soul. You just don't know what one smile is going to do for somebody. So I want y'all to practice that, and you're burning calories. So double, right? Um, now, one thing I've also heard of, and I was just blown away. This is like new. And Shannon was like, oh, yeah, she's actually done it. Of course, she's done everything. Um, is laughter yoga. Laughter yoga. Anybody done laughter yoga? I mean, so where you go for yoga and you learn to laugh, I guess, and to breathe and all of that. And I'm like, okay, I might try that. But to be honest, anytime I've done yoga, which isn't very often, I'm already laughing because the positions. And if you cough and sneeze in the wrong positions, I'm looking at you, Warrior Two, you could puddle when you're my age. And that's the only thing I can do is laugh when I puddle at yoga. So, but I think it's great. I do want to try it. There is a kind of yoga, though, I never want to try. How many are familiar with goat yoga? Anybody done goat yoga? Have you heard of Oh, yeah, Shannon. Okay, Shannon, you've really done it all. All right. I I am firmly and dedicated to believe that goat yoga should not be done. Because anytime something smelly and hairy is kind of coming at you when you're in the downward dog position and they want to try to climb on top of you, ladies, they should either be married to you or have brought you amazing jewelry because that's not going to happen in my world. I just not going to happen. It's just, oh, but that's okay. To each his own. Some people like hairy and smelly. That's fine. And that's great. I love that for you, but not me. Now, speaking of hairy and smelly, I have been married for 30 years. And I love him so much. I call him Budget Boy, um, because Budget Boy is so understanding of me. Just within the past year and a half, I've been doing this health journey. And the thing is that I have so much testosterone and hair on my chest that I could be classified a middle aged man. Now, the fact was, if I was performing this in Tennessee, I could be arrested for drag. That's how much testosterone I have. Um, now, I feel with all of this hair that I'm transitioning. I'm not choosing to transition. I really love being a woman. But what I've learned is empathy for drag queens. How do they get rid of all the hair? Oh my God. It is just amazing. They work so hard. I had trouble before just dealing with pits and lady bits. That was a lot. Now I have the trinity of pits, tits, and lady bits. And it's just too much. Now we've added face and home base. It's too much. Now, bless it, when I came home and told Budget Boy about this issue that was going on, he didn't even blink an eye. And when I told him he was basically in a same sex marriage at this point after 30 years, He didn't even care. You know what he cares about? The electrolysis bill that's going to be coming his way when we figure this out. Already, I'm having to buy shaving cream and I'm having to buy razors in bulk from Costco. It's just too much, my friends. But that's okay because I love Costco. Free samples. Oh my God. Or what Budget Boy calls Sunday brunch in our household. Yeah, he doesn't have to pay for that. He loves it. What I really love is the standing in the refrigerator room with the strawberries because it's things I love in a temperature that I need at this point in my menopausal journey. Um, but you know what, guys? I just laugh about it. And that's what I want you to do. I really had a lot more written. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get through 20 minutes, Shannon, let alone 30. And here it is. I see my time is like almost up, and I don't want to take it from anybody else because everybody has such amazing things to share. And it's all important. We all need, however, whatever tools we need to get through life because whew, it can be rough sometimes, but all of those tools are important to have in your toolbox. So I'm going to leave you with this. I am from the Gulf Coast of Alabama, which is home of Jimmy Buffett, if you know him. Um, and one of his favorite things that he said that I love is if we didn't laugh, we would all go insane. And he's right. If we don't laugh about things every now and then, we would all go insane. So thank you. I hope you got a little bit of laughter. If you need to think of something funny, you can think about my hairy back. If you anytime, it's really the hairy front that's most concerning because I can't see the back when I take my bath. That's why I've started watching reels in the bathtub so I don't look down and see that. But y'all have been amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I am so grateful that you came on with your I don't know, it's like a sermon of laughter. It's like you are a preacher's kid, but thank you for this particular way in. Amazing. If we want to follow you, you do have a page, which I believe my beloved Abigail is going to drop. You have like a comedy page. It's got some clips that you're adding to it.
It's just been started. This is, guys, I'm pretty new to the speaking aspect. I've done some stand up and I've, of course, have done improv for a long time in theater. But this wanting to speak to people about it is very new. So y'all are like my guinea pigs. Oh, but cute ones with little noses. I have loved being here. And so my page is just, I'll just be adding to it. You can see some of my other routines that are on there right now. But I hope it'll grow. And I hope you'll remember to just laugh a little bit. Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate being here.
Thank you, brilliant one. So glad to have you, y'all. What about that? So this is another way. If you're on camera, you can also clap in, if you're not using sound emojis, love it. A round of applause. Theater kids, we love them because we keep reinventing ourselves and doing cool stuff. It's like, don't ever be worried if your kid goes into theater. I mean, come on.
I know. I can't wait to see what I'm going to be when I grow up. Exciting.
It's
Right?
okay. Love it. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording. Love also.